Welcome back to the garage. Today I thought I would finish up the airbox that I started a few videos ago. When I first started making this airbox, I had no clear vision on what the end result would look like or how it would function. I kind of just winged it, and for the most part I think that worked out pretty well. But all the hard decisions, like how I would actually get air into the airbox and how I would filter that air, I decided to leave for another day. And that day is today. My first idea on how to actually get air into the box was to leave this front portion here open and close it up from the back and having it act like a scoop. An added benefit of having the opening in the bottom is that water and debris and stuff like that have a natural way to drain out. My second idea was to close up the front and open up the back instead. That would still have the added benefit of drainage and it would be hidden. And hidden stuff is always nice. My third idea was to leave an opening up here and that would also be hidden. But I would have to drill some drainage holes in the bottom. I think I'm gonna go with my first idea, the front scoop. I think it will look really aggressive and I think this build needs a bit more aggression. It will also mean that I will get a lot of airflow into the box, and that is a good thing because I actually want to put some electronic components in here, and having fresh air over those will keep them nice and cool. And the regulator rectifier sits up here under the seat, so the fresh air would actually help cool that as well. And keeping that cool is very important. I think I will just grab some sheet metal and start making a scoop. A nice benefit of making the rear fender shorter is that I can actually now take off the rear wheel without having to lift up the whole bike. Such a quality of life improvement. And people keep saying that choppers are less comfortable. They clearly have no clue what they're talking about. The bracket for the rear brake switch had to go, and for this other bracket I can't really remember what it's for. So I guess it wasn't really super important, and if it turns out that it was actually super important, I guess that's a problem for another day. And as for the rear brake switch, yes, I will run a rear brake and yes, I will have a switch for it, but I will come up with another solution. The old one was just too bulky. But that is also a problem for another day. Right now I need to make this piece of sheet metal fit in here. Whenever I'm doing something like this, I always start out with a chunk of sheet metal that is large enough to make the whole piece. And that is simply because I honestly think that I will be able to make the whole piece out of one chunk of sheet metal. But that always turns out to be not true. And as I'm slowly realizing that, I'm starting to cut it up into smaller pieces. And that's where we're at right now. I think this is good enough. I shall now weld it into place. As soon as you have welded the first piece into place, everything kind of gets easier. Well, maybe not easier, but at least you have made a commitment. I mean, welding two pieces of metal together, that is a pretty serious commitment. And for every piece that you are welding into place, you are going further down the road of no return. And sometimes that is all you need to move forward. And if you later realize that the weld you made was actually wrong and the whole thing turned into crap, it's only a weld. You can always grind it down. this is really where the decision to split everything up into smaller pieces really comes back to haunt us. Now I need to make these two pieces fit together again. But it's basically just a matter of grinding and checking and grinding and checking. The two pieces are tacked together, but I just remembered that there are actually two brackets that are supposed to go down here. They are there to hold the engine in place. And I really hope they still fit. I totally forgot about these. It goes on the inside. It actually looks like they both fit still. Crisis averted. Now I think it's time to start looking at the air filter. And that air filter has been kind of a tough nut to crack. I have ordered a couple of filters and I'm not happy with any of them, so I'm making my own. I kind of feel like I'm in a cooking show when I stand like this. Today on the Heavy Metal Cook Along we will make an air filter. Easy peasy. Anyway, here are the two filters I've ordered. I first ordered this one and it's just way too big. So I picked up this one, and even though the size is pretty perfect, I still think it's too bulky. So I ended up buying this universal air filter material. It's 1 centimeter thick, so I think it should function pretty well. And I'm pretty sure it will be better than these cheap pod filters that everyone is running. Okay, this is my plan. Here is the pipe for the carburetor canal. I don't know if you remember, but I made it out of this 2.5-inch exhaust pipe. And I have actually prepared, now it starts feeling like a cookie show again. I have prepared this ring that will go inside the canal and it will hold the filter material. And there will have to be a stop in here somewhere to prevent it from going all the way to the carb. I will then have this second ring pushing on the first ring to make sure that it stays in place. And this second ring will be attached with the same bolt that this pipe is attached with. So everything should be pretty solid. Alright, I will have to weld these shut and then I will have to come up with some kind of a mesh to prevent the air filter material from just flying out. I already have a pretty cool idea for that. Filter is done and I'm actually quite happy with it. In order to prevent it from falling out, I just added a third ring inside the pipe. A simple but effective solution. And as for the pattern in the mesh, I was actually deciding between two different designs. The first one was a peace sign and the second one was this pentagram. And in the end I decided to go with the pentagram because Slayer! And for anyone worried that we won't get enough airflow, this is the stock airbox. The only opening it has is this small inlet in the top underneath the seat. So I think we should be fine. There is one more thing I want to fix before I can call this airbox done. And that is this spot right here, where the airbox meets the seat. It's just a total mess. It was really ugly when I made it, but then I actually had to bend it out of shape to be able to fit the seat. And as one of you pointed out in the comments, I can't have a square opening for a round tube. All right, let's fix this. I think that will do for now. To make it look real pretty, I will need better access to the frame. And that means taking out the engine and the whole front end. And I really don't feel like doing that right now. I have a few more things I want to get done before I fully disassemble this bike once again. Anyway, let me clean up a bit and we can have a look at where we're at right now. Slowly but surely, for everything that we do, we are getting one step closer to a finished build. But I do need to make some adjustment on this seat. I want it to sit flush right here. But that is for later. And for anyone worried that there will be rocks and birds and stuff flying in through my little scoop, I'm worried too. But I'm actually gonna cover it up with a mesh. And I'm gonna take that mesh from the old air filter. And speaking about air filters, I think this new air filter looks really cool. No one is ever gonna see it, but we know that it's there, and that's good enough for me. It looks even cooler from the inside when the light's shining through it. Well, that is it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you later. Bye!